Welcome, everybody, to the Simply Successful podcast. Today, I have a very special episode for you guys. It is all about being a heartled warrior. And I have a special guest all the way from Australia. I am incredibly blessed to have you today. It is Dane Muller from the Heartled Warriors, and he's going to share with us all about how to become a powerful and aligned man that is leading with his heart. So, thanks for taking the time and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here today with you chatting. Even though whatever time difference it is, I think it's about 11 a.m. in Berlin.
Yeah, pretty
Yep,
much. It's
cool.
11, yeah, and it's
Lovely.
almost nighttime where you are, right?
It is. It's 5 p.m. in the evening. I'm currently, I mean, if you can see behind me, this is the Australian outback. I'm along the west coast at the moment in Western Australia at a place called Exmouth. It's where they call it. It's where the desert meets the sea. So literally,
Oh,
I'm in the desert, though about 1 kilometre that way, it's all beautiful coral reef, and it's an amazing spot. An amazing spot. Yeah.
sounds perfect. But let's jump into it. And would you please just introduce yourself shortly and just share with us when and where was this idea of the Heartlet Warrior and your vision born back in the days?
So my name is Dane Muller. I am the creator, director, and founder of Heartled Warriors, along with my wife Nadine. She has her part of the company also. Heartled Warriors was created because I needed this. I needed this because I struggled a lot with a lot of mental health during my life, mental health, depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation from a very young age. And it wasn't until I was a little older where it actually really started causing a lot of issues in my life. I've got two young boys, married. It was causing my marriage was on the rocks. Basically,
Hmm.
we were close to separating, close to divorcing, and this is a lot to do with my own personal issues, nothing to do with the relationship itself, but what I was bringing, or what more so what I wasn't bringing to my
Hmm.
relationship and to my family. Um, my wife and I decided to do some. We were seeing psychs, we were seeing marriage counselors, we were doing all of the things to keep us together, and it just wasn't quite. It was enough until it wasn't,
Hmm.
and we needed something more. And my wife, I was doing all these sessions and things with the psychs and the marriage counselors with my wife, that I was doing it for my wife. I wasn't doing anything for myself at the time.
Oh, okay.
She realized that, and then she decided to do some work by herself, to work on herself, and went into number after number of self development programs and classes, and brought mentors in for herself, and then started doing a lot of work on her unconscious mind. And I started noticing huge changes in her, and she created her side of the company and started mentoring, and I was in the company doing the back end type of stuff, and then I was starting to run these processes on myself. I'm like, oh, there's something to these theories and processes around the unconscious mind and self development work. And I thought, you know what, I'll go do a couple of self development courses myself. And it just so happened I was in a course, and they brought some men's work into the room, which wasn't something usual for the room to do. And the effect that it had on me was life changing. So much so that I left there knowing that was my purpose, that I had to bring this type of work to men. And further to that, now I realize that it's not just men's work, it's everyone's work. So
Hmm.
we provide this work for everyone. And that's literally that day I had this shining light come down on me, and this huge realization and this feeling of freedom within me. Finally, like I'd never felt so free from myself, though, yet so in touch with myself at the same time. And I just said, I have to. It would be a disservice of me not to share this with everyone else. So literally that day, that's where Heartled Warriors was born, and here we are, nearly 2.5 years later.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing it. I really have like goosebumps. And that's interesting because it's another story of behind every powerful man is somewhat of a powerful woman leading the way. And
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And I love that combination you both do together. But we're going to jump in there later.
Yep.
But to paint a more or a better picture, clearer picture of what it is now that you are as a Heartled Warrior, or what can you tell us about like what is the core traits or the characteristics, or how is it even different from the version you were before?
Oh wow. How is it different? It's night and day. Everything I was before was a facade.
Oh yeah.
I grew up. I grew up. Look, I was a really talented young kid. Um, Great on the sporting field. I was reasonably intelligent. I had a lot of things going for me, and yet I had no self belief. There was a lot of self doubt in my life. Um, I lived in the past. Anything that didn't go my way, I blamed. So there
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of living in the past, living with
Hmm.
self doubt, living with depression. That's where depression lives in the past, all the things
Yeah.
that we couldn't and shouldn't. And I put on this front of
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a lot of men, I like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, that I'm okay, I'm strong, I've got it all together, nothing worries me, I'm not scared of anything. And I lived that front for most of my life. And I was the person that my friends came to for help as well, without any
Mm-hmm.
of them knowing the demons and the battles I was going through in my own mind. So that was that person before. He was scared, he was shy, he wasn't confident, though
Mm-hmm.
he was able to put on a show as if he
Pretend,
was.
yeah.
Yes, I was able to pretend, and when you do it for so long, you get really good at it.
Yeah.
And I did it for years and years and years. Whereas now, I actually am that person. I'm living in alignment, living congruently to the person I believe I am and the person I want to be. I I'm, I know that I'm confident. I have belief in myself. I have trust in myself. And most importantly, I have love for myself,
Oh yeah,
because
that's a
in
big
the
one.
past there was never any love for myself. And
Mm-hmm.
that was the one true element, one key element that was really missing from my life.
Yeah. Wow, that's deep. Thank you so much for sharing. But you mentioned it, besides having a fruitful relationship, just like a divine relationship, just on a completely another level, how did your life in other areas like business or your mental health and everything else like changed into the positive direction since you like stepped into that alignment and stepped into your true self and were like so brave to actually let those masks finally come down?
Finally come down. It's really scary. And I'm going to say, I thought it was really scary to let
Mm-hmm.
your mask down, because everyone says that it's really scary. Though once I actually did, I found out how easy it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
There's there's momentary discomfort for the rest of your life to feel free.
Yeah.
So it's a societal belief that this type of work's supposed to be really hard and really tough, and it can be at times. Yeah, it definitely can be. Though, what's going to be harder, living the rest of your life as you are,
Mm-hmm.
or changing everything? So the big thing for me was not caring people's judgment. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
something it's big for everyone, is the fear of judgment from others. So the huge piece for me to move forward and step into the person that I am now was not caring what anyone thought of me, only caring about myself. So as soon as I lost my fear of judgment of others,
Mm-hmm.
nothing mattered. And for me to let myself be vulnerable, for myself, seeing and feeling myself vulnerable to begin with was huge, and then letting others see me be vulnerable as well, and knowing that it actually set others free and helped others become more vulnerable, made it all the easier. So now I truly believe true power, true strength lies in vulnerability.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's scary and that's like a a thing with all anxieties because we do those mental replays and we make those issues and those the next step we make it like so huge and overbearing in our heads, right? Like this
Yeah.
is like almost like not attainable and it would be scary and everyone is gonna run away from us. And I noticed in my development as well, if you shed layers and if you put the mask down, because I can relate so good. I was an youth professional athlete. And I think a lot of people that are into high performance in this sports, they come from a point of low self-esteem. They
Yeah.
want to prove to the world, oh, here I am. Like,
It's how they receive
um,
love.
yeah, through like through performance, like please, I do so much. Please love me. Like, see that I'm worthy, and then you keep it cool, you know, you have that
Mm.
mask on and you're like pretending because with that kind of with that recognition and with that appreciation or even fame,
Yeah.
by doing so much and playing that character, even when you're grown up or you're still in the process of growing up, you think like, hey, that's working, right? Because
Yeah.
look, everyone loves me, and that's like just a basic human need. Like we want to belong and we want to be seen and valued and appreciated. But that
Hmm.
was a very tricky road.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of people that are what's this quote? A lot of people want to drive the Ferrari with you, but rarely do people want to drive the bus when shit hits the fan with you.
That's, yeah, 100%. I 100% agree.
And
It,
yeah, you notice
yeah.
that when you evolve that people fall apart, but it's like it's actually I don't know your experiences, but the ones that stay or remain are the good ones, and you need fewer people like around you, like but true people.
Yeah. I'm not sure of the exact quote though. The fewer people you have in your circle, the truer you are to yourself. When you have a lot of
Hmm.
people in your circle, the more you, I guess, the more shit you let in as well. And
Yeah.
the other thing with the self development work or the true work, which scares a lot of people, is you've actually got to be 100% honest with yourself.
Hmm.
So many people aren't ready to do that. So, and it's taking complete accountability, full, just radical responsibility for absolutely everything in your life, every single choice you've made, just everything. And that scares a lot of people because you consciously and unconsciously, you actually know that everything is your fault.
Hmm.
So, yes, I make sense of some circumstances. There's things that happen, though everything's a choice. And saying it's your fault's probably a little strong, but everything is a mirror
Creation.
of
Yeah.
your choices. So until you're really, really ready to take that complete responsibility of absolutely everything in your life, yes, it's going to be scary.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That is so so true. And I just like finished another episode about trust issues, and I'm telling that like to my clients all the time, and I was like, you have to start with yourself. Do you trust the man in the mirror? And do you love the man in the mirror? Like not
Yeah.
faking, pretending, you know, that cocky thing, and it really like take a minute, go to the bathroom, take a deep breather, and look yourself into the eyes. And that's where it starts. Like, and I remember it was horror for me. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. Like, I
Yeah.
couldn't stand my own look. It was too intense. And I was like, there's where it starts. And with everything, like, you have to be brave enough to look yourself in the mirror and ask all those questions and demands you put out there to the world. Like, you want to trust people, you want people to commit to you, you want people to be responsible. And you ask all those questions. So, okay, start with yourself. Do you trust the man in the mirror? Are you
Mm.
responsible? Are you committed to yourself? Do you love yourself? And this is, I guess, a huge, huge thing. But what is, you do a lot of workshops and you do a lot of work out there with men, especially for your part. Um, can you like sum up or tell us about what is like maybe the biggest issues or self-sabotaging programs or even beliefs that men come to you and you have to kind of break free from them?
So what I have found, there's two huge ones: self-doubt,
Mm-hmm.
self-doubt, self-belief, that worthiness piece,
Mm-hmm.
and love for self. That is the
Yeah.
number one thing, and because I truly believe, I know my wife does too, that everything starts and ends with love,
Mm-hmm.
which starts and ends with you right here. So until a man or a woman is able to love themselves, or even start to love themselves, they're going to have these trust issues, these self-doubt issues. And I'm not saying that I don't have self-doubt anymore, because I do. That's 100% right, because that was one of my biggest beliefs, or limiting beliefs, I should say, was my self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Though now when I feel or hear or see that doubt creep in, because of the work I have done on myself, because of the belief I have in myself, because of my ego, whatever it is, I love that self-doubt, because that's now a driver. It turns into motivation for me. When
Mm-hmm.
my little man on my shoulder goes, you can't do this, I'm like, okay, watch me do this. So it's just, it's beautiful. And that's all I want for anyone. That's all I want for everyone, is to, my wife says it perfectly. We doubt our doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So if that doubt comes in, I doubt my doubt, because I know that I can achieve whatever it is that I set out to do.
Yeah, that's amazing. Perfect. Um, but probably a lot of men now watching this or listening to this are laying back and saying like, okay, what the heck? Like, how do I even start? Like, okay, maybe I'm pretty much aware of that things have to change because I find myself in repetitive cycles,
Yeah.
probably, different relationships, but with the same kind of Nancy or issues or whatever. So maybe there's something to that thesis that it's about me and not always about the other person. So how do men now out there can actually start the work? How maybe you can talk us through some workshops, like when someone wants to start now and he says like, okay, I'm hearing you and I'm ready to
Mm.
change. What would you suggest to start?
So start by, like, there's so many little steps and things along the way, and it's like I relate it to when people start going to the gym for the first time. There's a lot of times where
Mm-hmm.
people will dive into the gym or training head first and like do 7 days a week, and then they finish after the first week. They're so sore and so tired that they're like, I'm never going back to do that again. Some people that works, but a lot of people that won't work. Same with self-development. Just start off easy. Start by joining your free Facebook groups. Like we have a free men's Facebook group called Heartled Men. All it is just a Facebook group where you can actually jump in and have a chat. There's support and a community in there of safety, where men just want to share without the judgment. So there's that. There's day events like our Heart-led workshops that's 6 hours, and it's a really a light step into what our 3-day retreats are. What are you listening to? What are you watching? Like
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of people scroll on social media. What what news outlets are you listening to? Start by changing what you're bringing into your life. It's easy to blame the news, easy to blame everything around you, but you're the person that's watching it. You're the person that's dealing with it. If you get easily influenced by friends, it's time to let some friends go. Like it's really seeing what it's not. The big thing is people try and bring more into their life. It's actually starting by emptying parts of your life out
Mm-hmm.
to create that room, to create the capacity so you can have that room to grow.
Yeah.
So find something that you relate to,
Mm-hmm.
and then move from there. And whatever pace, like everyone has their own gestation period.
Yeah.
So a big thing, comparison can be the thief of joy. So you may have someone that you look at and go, wow, their growth's happening so quick. Why isn't it happening for me? Comparison can be the thief of joy.
Mm-hmm.
Though also, this is the paradox. comparison can be a huge motivator too. So if you see someone and you're like, oh, why are they moving so quickly in their growth journey, and why aren't I doing this? That's where that comparison can be the thief of joy. But if you see someone like, that is so great, they're moving along so quickly with their growth journey, I need to get in. So start with what you're watching, what you're consuming in your life. Join the free Facebook groups. Start small. Get a feel of it first, because there are some men that do come in and jump straight into a 3-day men's retreat and want to, and they're ready for that, which is fantastic. And that's what you want. Do that. Find something that works for you first, and then go like that. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I think the community part is so crucial, because what I experience with working with athletes and entrepreneurs is that it's so sad to me to see it, because so many men, I don't want to say all of it, but a huge amount of men are feeling, like you said, the same struggles with self-worth issues, self-doubt, and everyone is kind of like hiding behind those masks, not wants to open up to another man, because he doesn't want to appear weak,
Yeah.
in a way. And so everyone is like coming together with their masks on, and like pretending, and feel miserable behind it by themselves. And a lot of people, a lot of men, I feel, really lack those, even if they are not in a really good relationship, they close those bond, like those
Mm.
connection, those heart to heart connections. And that's why I feel it's like so important to have that community, to have that safe space, where you can like slightly in your pace open up, and actually, like, tap a toe into the water and see, oh, nothing scary happens if I just like slip that mask down for a second, so
Yeah.
no one's like judging me, I'm not weak. No, actually, I'm joining the brave side. I'm joining, right, like the true masculine side. And it's so important, I guess, even to with your work, to change that perspective of men and
Yeah.
how they're socialized and how they have to be. So you're a dad now, and to me, it's super interesting how that new approach changed your perspective on fatherhood, and what of the values you give to your sons to like grow them into Heartled Warriors.
Yeah. Look, I came from a very strong masculine father. But it was with the old school view of
Mm-hmm.
masculinity, and you don't cry in front of everyone, you keep your emotions down, you all of that. And for back then, perfect. That suited that time, that suited that era, though it doesn't work in today's day and age.
Mm-hmm.
So old school masculinity doesn't map across to right here, right now. And that is why we are having so many men and women, though we'll speak about men, with mental health issues, your depressions, your anxieties, suicidal ideation. The number, there's so far this year, there's over 280,000 people that have committed suicide, which is just horrible.
Yeah.
75% of that, 75% of that number are men.
Mm-hmm.
So here in Australia, there's 9 suicides a day, and 7 of those are men. So telling men to bottle up their emotions like they did in the
Mm-hmm.
past is one of the big reasons we're having these numbers like we are.
Yeah.
So for me, changing the view on how masculinity is a big part of what I do, because I truly believe the value of being a masculine man stays the same.
Mm-hmm.
You're a protector, you're a provider,
Yeah.
you support and you love with everything you have, though we can do that in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different opportunities in this world to create an income with the internet and social media and everything. We don't need to go and sacrifice ourselves in the workplace to provide for our families, because we're actually sacrificing more than ourselves. We're sacrificing all our families.
Yeah.
So changing like the values stay the same, as I said, though the view
Mm-hmm.
on how we do that has to be different. So for me, showing my sons, because I have my son, my eldest is 8 and my youngest is 4, about to turn 5. And my eldest was one of the biggest reasons why I had to work on myself, because I could see all of the traits that I hated about myself
Mm-hmm.
in him, his
Oh yeah.
self-doubt, his, because it's a, our, whether you like to believe it or not, it's an absolutely true fact that generational trauma is passed on. And I was passing all of my trauma on to him. So it would have been so selfish of me to not work on myself and pass
Yeah.
these on to him. Selfish of me to be so scared to do it and then pass them on to him. At least now he has the opportunity just to deal with his own trauma, if
Yeah.
that happens. So the big reality that I was facing was whether or not I was, because I, like I said, I was deep into suicidal ideation where I didn't want to be on this earth anymore. And I was only keeping here because of my sons. And that was uh, it's not a great way to live. And that's a very selfish thing to do and a burden to put on my children. I'm
Mm-hmm.
only here for them. Why wasn't I showing them that I'm here for myself and showing? Because one thing I always said was, have fun, do it, live life, be everything you need to be. And I wasn't doing that myself. So I wasn't
Yeah.
actually showing them how to do that. I was showing them how to go inward. So doing that for me, I changed myself to help change them because the big reality is if I hadn't of done any of this work and just let's just say I didn't succumb to um my dark or my dark thoughts that at 16, 17, where there's a lot of suicides for young men, like I could have had a phone call and been going to my son's funeral because he'd taken his own life because I'd passed on all of my issues
Mm-hmm.
to him, past my father's issues that come to me on it. Like I had to break that generational pattern. So I did
Yeah.
that. So for me, showing my sons that it is okay to be vulnerable, that every single emotion is beautiful, anger, sadness, joy, all of them. There's so much purpose as to why we get to feel all of these emotions, and letting them or suppressing them isn't the right thing to do because that's when we have these explosions. So anytime that I anytime that I am upset and I need to to shed tears or cry, they see it, they feel it. I show them everything we do at our retreats. They see the men releasing and they love it because I explained to them, I said, this man, there's, when he was a child, he was abused as a kid and this is what has happened to him. And he's held it on and he's finally let it go. And I asked them, how do you think they feel? And they're like, oh, that must feel so great because they see the tears and see the smiles. So showing them that vulnerability is the key to their strength is a big thing for me for them to see.
Wow, that's so powerful and beautiful, like that they have the opportunity to grow up in that surrounding and even further like with the health issues like blood pressure, heart attacks and all
Mm,
that and even like this huge um epitome of like autoimmune diseases and
yep.
I was kind of by my father I was raised like a boy too because I have an older brother and he always wanted to be him like the sports star and everything and he was like kind of like a bit lazy and I was always like competing with my brother for my dad's attention and I
Mm-hmm.
stepped into that role and I became like very in my masculine energy and bottled that up and always put a lid on everything and that led me not just to a burnout but that led me to a massive autoimmune disease because I was fighting against myself, which is
Yep.
actually the immune system attacking yourself because you were
Mm,
when you're like bottling up all that emotions with this like energy in motion and you keep it stuck. So it's against its purpose to move through us and guide us into a direction. Like this is like where I firmly believe comes so much even like not just mental health issues, but physical health issues from and
yes.
I see so many men with like heart issues, blood pressures, whatever. And I believe that this comes from a lack of like connectedness with their heart or even like not expressing being hurt emotionally and like just building another brick wall around that heart and like becoming a lone wolf and thinking that then they're fine and okay, which is
Mm,
actually not because they just store it until you probably reach that point of no return where it's like implodes and God forbid you do something horrible to yourself.
yes.
So that is
So
amazing.
we can't unsee what we've seen. And I'm going to speak on injuries for myself at the moment, not at the moment, but in the past. So I had lower back issues, sciatic nerve issues from 18 through to about 3 or 4 years ago. And I'd always blame all this type of training I was doing, the heavy lifting and running all the time and all of that, always blame it on that. Though from what I know now,
Mm-hmm.
stored trauma in the body causes disease. And that can
Yeah.
be injuries like that. It can be lots of different things. I haven't had a back issue or a lower back issue for over 4 years now because of the work that I've done. What I know is that anger is stored in the lower back, and there was a lot of things in my life that I was angry at, and I released that anger, and I've never had a lower back issue ever again. There's been times where men have come in with Achilles injuries, or they haven't been able to run in 10 years because their Achilles will be sore. They come to our retreats and they release whatever is they need to release, and then they're running 4 and 5 kilometers every day afterwards because they can actually move and free. So we know that trauma is stored energy in the body somewhere, and it needs to be released. And it, yes, stored in the body, it will cause disease, immune disorders, cancer,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. I 100% believe that yes, the release of stored trauma, stored energy in your body will guarantee help you with things like that.
Yeah, and funny side note, I just thought about, funny that we're talking about warriors and you bring up the Achilles like injuries, because I was just talking to sports physicians and I was like, I just got a light bulb moment. Like, I think this injury has to be like symptomatic for more, for a manly, like for a masculine thing, because I rarely, me personally, I'm not know one single woman that has an Achilles injury.
Mm.
But
What
I knew so many
what
men
side is it
out
on?
there. So I knew so many men that talk about having that, and I was like, that's interesting. Like even with the with the symbolic nature of it, and so yeah, that's like very very interesting to dive into those things. But you just shared it in the beginning that you and your wife are working together, which
Hmm.
I absolutely love to see. And she has her own program for women, but you guys have something together for couples.
We
Can you
do.
just give us a quick insight into like how your relationship is now and what are you doing in that like divine couple workshops or work?
We yes, we do have our well, everything is together. So yes, we do have our separate clients and things like that, though it's all under the one
Mm-hmm.
umbrella. Though um, we have a women's retreat and we call that Rise Women's Retreat, which is very, very similar to the men's retreat, which is Resolve. And yeah, we have our couples retreat, United Couples, because it was birth because we were literally about to wave the white flag and say this is too hard.
Mm-hmm.
This is too hard, which I know a lot of couples go through and do, and it's because we couldn't. We sought after support, but we just couldn't get the support that we needed to help us through what we were going to get through. So, societally, um, everyone was telling us to wave the white flag. I guess we listened a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
though deep down, and my wife really led the way with this because I still had this negative mindset
Yeah.
of what if it doesn't work out? What if it doesn't work out?
Mm-hmm.
Though she had that mindset of what if it does,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all she had belief, and that's all she needed to say to me. So I then started believing as well. So knowing that we could have ended and knowing how actually easy it was to move through and resolve or manage our problems and move on to with our life to create what we've created. We were like, there are so many couples that probably end their marriages or the relationships that probably didn't need to. That
Mm-hmm.
probably could have come and done this type of work or spent some time with us or come to a retreat and probably saved what they've had.
Yeah.
So that's a huge piece of why we're going to do it because yeah, again, societally, the easy way out is to wave the white flag. Everyone says, especially if you have kids, oh, you may as well separate now because it'll be easier on the kids. Well,
Mm-hmm.
what's going to be easier on the kids if you actually spend some time getting a little bit uncomfortable with each other and staying together, and then imagine how happy your kids will be then. So for us,
Yeah.
that was a huge piece. And what we have now is a relationship that is like we're on a honeymoon every day.
No, that's
You know,
beautiful.
there's no there's so many people that'll say, oh, the honeymoon period will be over soon. Why does it have to be over? Why does it have to be over? Why do you stop doing the thing? Like everyone always has so much fun in the beginning of their relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Why does that stop? It's because you stop doing the things that
Yeah.
had so much fun. So we continuously have fun. We continuously run around and muck around like we're 18 years old. And I truly believe that's the key to communication, one. Communication and complete honesty, though, continuously having fun.
Yeah.
We need to continuously have fun. What if you are struggling or having some challenges in your relationship? What were you doing before that you're not doing now? Bring that fun back into your relationship.
Yeah, I think that's such a huge advice. Like in general, like bring more playfulness back into your life because, and that's what I learned with my daughter. She's like 6 now, and she's a perfect mirror of my unhealed issues too.
Yes,
But
that's what they're.
that's what they like. I think you should even realize more having kids, but even without kids, like we when we grow up, when we become adults, like and we go into the workplace and we were all everything is so serious, right? Like everything is so serious, like dead serious and the end of the world if like we don't finish that job at work or we don't respond the email on the weekend, like oh my God, like everything. And I think it's so important to really take a breather and like step back to it and be freaking playful again, like with
Yes.
yourself, with what you love to do, but of course with being a couple. And it's funny that you say that honeymoon effect. I just finished that Bruce Lipton book that he read a whole book about the honeymoon effect and how it's
Mm,
never going to be for like how it's never ends from even like a quantum physics and biological energetical point of view. And that is really, really amazing because you heal so much with it. Like I'm a huge fan of holistic approaches.
yes.
And this is just like my vision, my love for like just bringing everything together. And I love how you guys do this and like not just heal the man, heal the woman, bring it together in like united couples healing each other and therefore building those sacred places for this new generations of kids, having
Yeah.
this like container for them, this beautiful container, raising them in a less traumatic way, breaking like karma and like generational cycles. And this is actually where when you start with yourself and bring this to the relationship, into the family, like you change the whole world, your whole cosmos around it. And that is so beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. Look, one thing that we all say is we just want everyone to do this work. We want everyone to feel how we feel, like
Yeah.
literally, because it is. I know how I felt in the past, and I know how I
Hmm.
feel now. And if everyone got to feel so free within themselves, could you imagine what this world would be like?
Yeah.
So our goal, it may seem far fetched for a lot of people, though, is to change the world.
Hmm.
And we can collectively do that within a generation, within 2 generations.
Absolutely.
If
Yeah.
and the more because a lot this like the work that we do, especially online, especially for men, it gets met with a lot of resistance. And
Hmm.
that's okay. And I make sense of that because there's a lot of people that won't make sense of it right now. So the
Hmm.
more, and that's why we share so much online. The more people that see it, the more people that hear it, the more people will make sense of it, the more people that will come and do it or go do it. So it doesn't need to be through us. It can be through so many other different avenues. Though the more people that see it and feel it, the more it gets out there, the more options there are for people to do this type of work. The world will become a better place. If you
Yeah.
if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for your children,
Hmm.
And I guarantee you, while you start doing that for your children, it'll actually become you doing it for yourself, because you do it for yourself, then your children won't have to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So, thank you so much for this amazing episode. I want to finish with what I do with every episode. Your thoughts on success. So, would you complete that? Success to me is,
Success to me is freedom. And I'll elaborate a little bit, because freedom looks very different for everyone. It can be subjective. Freedom of time. So I have freedom of choice. Everyone has a choice, but doing what I've done for myself, creating this business, it's been hugely successful. It's created freedom of choice for us. We are free to choose whatever it is that we. So I've just there's some raindrops happening, so I'll just clean the screen. That was my mistake by doing this outside. I wanted to show you the Great Australian Outback.
that's
So
awesome. That's
um,
authentic. That's why we love
yeah,
it.
I we've done this because it's given us a freedom of choice. Everyone has a choice to do whatever they want, though it can be restricted by the limitations of how much money you earn, how much belief you have in yourself. We've created a life for ourselves where we have the freedom of choice now. So we choose to do what we want. We choose to be where we want. We choose what we want to do for a day. We're not restricted by the choices that are provided for us. We get to choose. So success for me is the freedom of choice.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much. So, thank you
Thank
for
you.
that heartlet and like value-packed, wonderful episode today,
Thank
and
you.
for you making the time and sharing all of this. I'm gonna drop every information about your work into the show notes, and just have an amazing night with your family and go on with that beautiful work. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you. Look, I'll just say thank you so much for having me. I do have German background, so it's an absolute pleasure to be
Oh,
here.
really?
Yeah, can I just say thank you so much for providing this space as well for yourself to show others what is possible and avenues for them to do that, because the more people like yourself that can do this and get other people's work out there, the better. So thank you so much for what you do too.
Thank you. My pleasure. So have a great night and lots of
Thank you
love
so
to
much.
Australia. Bye.
Thank you. See ya.